Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Business, Housing, and Zoning Committee for August 12, 2025. I'm Jamal Osman, and I'm the chair of this committee. Before we begin the meeting, I want to remind all staff members and the public that this meeting are broadcasted live to enable greater public participation. This will include real-time captioning to increase the accessibility of our proceeding to the community. Therefore, all speakers need to be mindful of the rate of their speech so that our captioners can fully transcribe all comments for the broadcast. We ask all speakers to moderate the speed and clarity of their comments. We'll be using speaker management. Please sign up. If you don't have your computer, just raise your hand. I will call you. All right, at this time, I'll ask clerk to call the rolls to verify a quorum.
Councilmember Rainville is absent. Cashman?
Present.
Jenkins?
Present.
Chowdhury?
Present.
Vice Chair Ellison is absent. And Chair Osman.
Present.
There are 4 members present.
Let the record reflect we have a quorum. I got a word from Councilmember Rainville. He will be joining us shortly. Our agenda is in front of us. Are there any amendments on the agenda? Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, Chair. I move to amend the agenda to include 2 gambling licenses for Northeast Minneapolis Lions Community Foundation at 400 Hennepin Avenue and Northeast Minneapolis Lions Community Foundation for 310 Hennepin Avenue East. These are, I think, both in Ward 3, and I offered Councilmember Rainville to add them on his behalf since he wasn't here.
Great, thank you. On the motion to amend the agenda and add as sub-items, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed say nay. The ayes have it and the motion carries. All right, before we proceed to the public hearing items on our agenda, we'll first take our consent agenda, which includes item 4 through 10. Item 4 is approving 5 liquor license renewals. Item 5 is approving 3 gambling license. No, 5 gambling license. Correct? Yep.
I think 3.
3. 3 gambling license approvals. Item 6 is accepting and authorizing a grant from the Sabaru Loves Pets program for pet adoption cost at MAC. Item 7 is accepting and authorizing a grant from Minnesota State Historic Preservation Office for the cost and association with with hosting the National Alliance Preservation Commission Conference. Item 8 is approving a rezoning ordinance submitted by Quarry Developers for the property at 1501 Johnson Street. Item 9 is setting a public hearing for September 2nd to consider an ordinance related to the commercial property sales. Lastly, item 10 is setting up a public hearing for September 2nd to consider ordinance related to administrative enforcement process. With that, do any of my colleagues have any questions? Seeing nobody else, I will move approval item 4 through 8, including two new gambling license, and set public hearing for item 9 and 10. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed say nay. The ayes have it and the motion carries. Now, we will proceed to the public hearing portion of our agenda. First, we have a public hearing for comments on 2024 Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report. This report is submitted to the U.S. Department on Housing, Urban Development. Briefly, I will welcome Matt Bauer from Finance and Property Services to speak on this item. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, Chair Osman and members of the committee, Matt Bauer, Finance and Property Services. And the subject of this hearing is to receive public comment on the city's drafted 2024 Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report. This is a report we submit to HUD at the end of the month that documents our use of HUD entitlement funds in the city over the past program year, which ended in May. The funds covered under this this report are the Community Development Block Grant, Home Investment Partnerships, Emergency Solutions Grant, Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS, and the Home American Rescue Plan grant funds, as well as a Community Development COVID dollars that we still are spending down. And with that, accept any comments on this. The comment period, the written comment period will be open through the 25th of August, and then we'll include any comments at this hearing or provide it in written form to HUD as part of the report.
Thank you so much for that presentation. I'm going to proceed to open the public hearing and ask if there's anyone who signed up or who would like to speak on this item. See none, I'll close the public hearing and see if any of my colleagues have any questions. All right, seeing none, I will ask, I'll ask City Clerk to receive and file. Is that the proper way? Yes, to receive and file on this item. All right, next we have a public hearing for bond issuance to University Gateway Corporation at 200 Oak Street Southeast. I'll welcome Becky Shaw from CBIT to speak on this item.
Good afternoon, Chair Osmond and committee members. I'm Becky Shaw from CPED Business Development. You have before you today a request to authorize the issuance of up to $42.1 million in tax-exempt revenue bonds for the University Gateway Corporation. University Gateway Corporation is a nonprofit entity formed in 1997 to serve as the real estate entity of the McNamara Alumni Center at the University of Minnesota. University Gateway has made use of City of Minneapolis tax-exempt revenue bonds many times over the years, starting with the construction of McNamara Center in 1997, plaza expansion in 2002, food service entryway and atrium expansion in 2009, and refunding projects in 2006 and 2015. At this time, the University Gateway Corporation is requesting up to $42.1 million in tax-exempt revenue bonds to refinance all of their outstanding City of Minneapolis revenue bonds for more favorable rates and terms. As with all revenue bonds, the funds come from the bondholders purchasing the bonds and will be repaid using revenues produced by the corporation and its guarantors. The City of Minneapolis is not responsible for repayment of the debt and has no security interest in this project. And I do have representatives from the project here today. That concludes my presentation, and I'll stand for any questions you may have.
Thank you so much for that presentation. I'm going to proceed to open the public hearing and call Randy Fielding. Welcome, sir.
Sorry, I may have signed up for the wrong question.
Oh, wrong crowd? Okay. I understand, yep. Are there anyone who would like to speak? Sure. Anyone who would like to comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and recognize Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, Chair Osmond. I was wondering if staff or representatives from the McNamara Event Center here at the U could just tell us a little bit what the bond money will be used for in the building, what the community can expect out of this, already amazing piece of architecture that's used a lot, but what's the plan for the use of the bonding money?
So the use of the bonding money will go specifically towards refinancing outstanding debt. So their 1997 bonds, there's about $15 million outstanding. 2002, there's $7,350,000. 2009, $10,500,000. And 2015 is $8,225,000. So all total with the fees and issuance costs will add up to about $42.1 million. And so this is just a refinancing, one new issue to take out all of the existing debt. And there will be no new construction or improvements to the facility at this time.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's already in great condition. I was wondering what would possibly need to be done. Thank you for the explanation. I'll move this for approval.
Okay. Yes, Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, Chair Osmond. I was just curious, and we just had the city just hosted an incredible event at McNamara Center yesterday. So it is a beautiful facility, agreed. I'm just curious, you mentioned the city is not responsible for the repayment of this debt. Is there any scenario where the city would be responsible?
No, these are tax exempt revenue bonds they're called conduit bonds. And a conduit bond allows nonprofits and certain manufacturing businesses to make use of City of Minneapolis revenue bonds. So the City of Minneapolis is the issuer. The bonds are then sold to bondholders on the market. They are providing the funds for the bond project, and the university is responsible for paying the debt back. So it's like a fancy loan. And the city is not, the city is a conduit, so we're not on a hook for any of the debt. Once the bonds are issued, the city is out of the project.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, seeing no one else, with the motion to approve this item, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the motion carries. All right, now we are going to a quasi-judicial item. It's an appeal that was submitted by Molly Richard for numerous properties. This appeal comes from decision of the City Planning Commission. I will have Hillary Vorak from CPED to give us the content of this item. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm going to put my eyes on. Good afternoon, Chair Osman, council members. We are here this afternoon to hear an appeal by Molly Reichert for a development project at 3003 Hennepin Avenue, 1340 West 31st Street, 3045 Hennepin, 1305 Westlake, and 1330 West 31st Street, known as the 7 Points Apartment Project. This is a development project by Doran Companies. They are proposing to construct a 228-unit residential development at the site just mentioned. North Pond is the landowner and will be selling the southern portion of the site to Doran. There were 2 applications before the Planning Commission on July 21st. One was a conditional use permit to amend a planned unit development for a 228-unit residential addition, and site plan review for the same 228-unit residential development. So on the screen before you is a plan that shows the extents of the 7 Points planned unit development. So 7 Points is an existing planned unit development located on the southeast corner of Westlake Street and Hennepin Avenue. The planned unit development includes a shopping center, a sports and health facility, a parking ramp, and a vacant lot. The development site includes the entire block bounded by Westlake Street, Hennepin Avenue on the west, West 31st Street on the south, and vacated Girard on the east. The site also includes the entire west half of the block located on the east side of vacated Girard, and the property located at 1305 Westlake Street. The property at 1305 Westlake Street is being held for redevelopment in the future. So just to orient the council and those in the audience, this is your bottom of your screen is Hennepin Avenue. To the left is Lake Street. What is dark gray here is the existing 7 Points shopping center that will remain once demolition has occurred. This is the new construction site. This is the existing parking garage that will remain, and then this is the vacant site at 1305 Westlake Street that is being held for future redevelopment. This is the site that we are here to talk about. This is a closer up image. This just removes the parking ramp and the vacant site from the image. This is the existing shopping center. Hennepin is on the bottom of the screen. Lake is on your left. New U-shaped apartment building on the right. The applicant is proposing to demolish the existing southern portion of the shopping center to construct a new 5-story, 228-unit residential development. Spaces that would be demolished include the existing mid-block entrance along Hennepin Avenue, the former kitchen window space, the former Famous Dave space, the former CB2 space, and a small surface parking lot and a loading facility. The proposed building has been designed in the shape of a U. The U is oriented north, creating an exterior courtyard between the proposed building and the 7 Point Shopping Center to the north. The proposed building will be located approximately 22 feet from the proposed southerly wall of the 7 Point Shopping Center. The proposed exterior courtyard would have a patio area, a lawn area, and pet exercise area in it. The exterior courtyard would be accessible to residents from within the building and from both Hennepin Avenue and vacated Girard. A skyway would connect the Hennepin Avenue and vacated Girard Avenue South access. Not a skyway, a walkway. A walkway would connect the Hennepin Avenue and vacated Girard Avenue South access points, allowing residents to walk through the site. So let me just orient you. This is that mid-block crossing. There will be fences at each location, but residents of this apartment building will be able to go through those gates to access the site. Along Hennepin Avenue, the applicant is proposing to have a short-term bicycle parking area located between the proposed building and the shopping center. A total of 45 short-term spaces would be provided. Along vacated Girard, the applicant is proposing to have an outdoor staging area for refuse and recycling storage containers located between the building and the 7 Point Shopping Center. So again, here is the short-term bike parking that is for anyone in the neighborhood, and then this is the staging area for trash and recycling. It will be kept inside, moved outdoor on pickup day, and then we'll leave the site. The proposed building would have a principal entrance located at the corner of Hennepin Avenue and West 31st Street. So in this corner of the building. And a secondary entrance would be located on the east side of the development facing vacated Girard Avenue South. The applicant is proposing to have residential amenity spaces located on the first floor of the building. Those are the ones in yellow on the screen. Amenities would include a bike workshop located nearest the outdoor bike parking spaces, a fitness center, and an entertainment suite. Also located on the first floor is a community room with direct access to the exterior courtyard. Dwelling units would be located on the remainder of the first floor facing West 31st Street, all in light blue, vacated Girard Avenue South, and the exterior courtyard. The upper levels of the development would include dwelling units. Exterior and interior modifications to the existing shopping center will occur. The existing shopping center is 234,900 square feet approximately in size today. After demolition, which they will be taking down approximately 62,000 square feet of vacant retail space, the shopping center will be 173,080 square feet. After the demolition, a new south wall will be constructed for the shopping center. The wall will be complementary in design to the existing shopping center and the proposed building. Additionally, a new entrance to the shopping center will be constructed along Hennepin Avenue in this location, right here, which is the approximate location of the mid-block crossing today. The new entrance will be located at the southern end of the shopping center and will connect internally to the existing entrance to the shopping center located along vacated Girard. So I'm hoping everyone is familiar with this site, but this is the main entrance into the building on vacated Girard. This has the skyway over it, so you can also enter the building on the second level from within the parking garage. The existing parking ramp on the site accommodates a total of 731 vehicles. Access to the existing parking ramp is provided along both West Lake Street and West 31st Street via vacated Girard. No changes to the existing parking ramp or access to it are proposed as part of this development. The applicant and the owner of the parking ramp will enter into an agreement for use of up to 113 of the parking spaces for the proposed development. Exterior modifications to the site will occur. Proposed streetscape improvements along Hennepin and West 31st Street include landscaping. And to enhance vacated Girard, the existing walkway that stretches from Lake to 31st will be reconstructed and additional landscaping will be added. A planned unit development is a conditional use in the CM4 destination mixed-use district. The proposed changes to the site require an amendment to the previously approved conditional use permit for the PUD. The proposed development is part of an established planned unit development and does not require any new alternatives to the zoning code. Site plan review is also required as the proposed development contains more than 4 dwelling units. So those were the 2 applications that the Planning Commission considered at their public hearing on July 21st, was the conditional use permit to amend the PUD for the development, and then site plan review. So on to the conditional use permit. Stay here. Amending the previously approved conditional use permit to allow the proposed 5-story, 228-unit residential development will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, comfort, or general welfare. The 7 Point Shopping Center was first developed in 1984. It is an important asset to Minneapolis, and its success is vital to the area's economic achievement as a retail destination. The proposed residential development will complement the existing uses in the shopping center, or the shopping center itself, and the surrounding area. The proposed residential development will replace a portion of the existing shopping center. And the project will bring increased residential density to the site. The site is guided for destination mixed use in the comprehensive plan, the Minneapolis 2040 plan. Guidance for destination mixed use future land use guidance says that commercial retail uses are required at the street level of all development in this category to encourage pedestrian activity beyond the typical daytime business hours. The existing shopping center has commercial uses or commercial space located on the street level of development along both Hennepin Avenue and West Lake Street. Additionally, there are commercial uses located on the street level of the existing shopping center in the development facing vacated Girard. The amount of commercial space in the existing shopping center satisfies the ground level commercial requirement for the entire planned unit development. So to clarify, no new commercial is required in this new building, as all of it is being satisfied in the existing mall. If there are any questions, I can clarify that again. Vacated Girard Avenue South is used, and I'll show you guys this. So 31st again here on the right, Lake Street on the left. This is vacated Girard. For those really familiar with Uptown, in the 2000s, there was the Girard Meander in the Uptown Small Area Plan. 2007, I believe we adopted that, the city did. Many improvements, many changes have happened to this block of vacated Girard since 2005. Many iterations, starts and stops, fits and whatever. As it is today, this is the parking garage. Access into a parking garage if you are a car. You can enter off of 31st and go in. There is an additional entrance, right here into that same parking garage. So there are 2 entrance points here and 1 entrance point here. None of that is changing. All of those will remain as entrances or exits from the parking garage. What I'm about to discuss is what's happening between those 2 vehicle entrance points. So vacated Girard is used as a pedestrian thoroughfare between West Lake Street and West 31st Street. It is also used to access the loading dock located towards the northeast corner of the shopping center and for emergency vehicles. So there is a loading dock in this area, and to accommodate that, vehicles come in here. There had been a loading dock here that's getting demolished. But again, this is vacated and emergency vehicles need to get through here. So there is a 20-foot fire access lane that runs down the center of vacated Girard that has to remain. So nothing can be built in this space permanently because we have to get emergency vehicles through here. The area between the parking ramp access points is blocked by knockdown bollards. The proposed residential development will utilize vacated Girard for move-ins and move-outs and for trash and recycling collection purposes, just like the north loading dock is used today. A dedicated loading space for the residential development will be provided along the east side of vacated Girard. So this box is the loading zone that they are dedicating for their residential move-ins and outs. Just south of the pedestrian entrance to the, the loading zone would be located just south of the pedestrian entrance to the 7 Point Shopping Center. And the applicant and the owners of the 7 Point Shopping Center will need to coordinate on how these activities are scheduled. In order to deter people from driving between the parking ramp access points, the applicant is proposing to maintain the knockdown bollards and add signage at the parking ramp access points to help direct traffic. The applicant and the owners of the 7 Point Shopping Center are also exploring the idea of adding electronic control gate at the north end of vacated Girard to further deter people from driving between the parking ramp access points. Sorry, these are images. I could have slowed down, but I was just trying to get to a different slide. The existing 7 Point Shopping Center is primarily clad in brick, and the parking ramp is made of concrete with a partial brick exterior. A new south wall will be constructed for the shopping center that will be complementary in design to it. The applicant is proposing architectural precast panels with a brick finish, alternating every 24 feet. Additionally, the proposed building has been designed to be compatible with the design of the existing 7 Point Shopping Center and the parking ramp. The proposed building will have a brick base that extends up 3 levels at the corners of the building, and the upper levels will be clad in metal and cement panel. The colors of the exterior of both the new south wall and the shopping center will be complementary to one another. During the public hearing, there was discussion about the one item that needed alternative compliance from the Planning Commission, which was actually having to do with the south wall of the existing shopping center. So the development met all of our criteria in site plan review except for one, which was this is a blank wall because it's blank without any openings for 25 feet. So the Planning Commission added a condition of approval that they add 4 20 by 20 foot murals to this wall as a means to break it up. So that was the action from the Planning Commission. So those were the 2 applications that are required for the project. At the public hearing, CPED staff did recommend approval of both of those applications. The Planning Commission did also recommend approval of both of those applications after a lengthy discussion. They did add the one condition about the murals. So there has been an appeal submitted by Molly Reichert. The appeal statement says that this project does not meet the zoning code or the comprehensive plan. As staff, we are saying this project does meet the comprehensive plan and the zoning code for all of the reasons and rationale that I just provided for all of you. I do have to say that at the public hearing for Planning Commission and since the Planning Commission public hearing, there have been images distributed to the public of a second proposal for the site from a development group called Build Public. This is not an option. You are not choosing between Build Public's design and the Doran development project before you. It should not be part of the discussion because it is not relevant to the actions before you for the quasi-judicial hearing. I will stand for any questions.
Thank you so much for that presentation. First, before we take any questions, we'll hear from the public and go from there for any questions. Rise up. All right. If the appellant is present at today's meeting, I will allow them 7 minutes to address the committee. After that, the other side will have also 7 minutes. The committee, anybody else who came here to speak, who signed up, will have 2 minutes. With that, I will proceed to open the public hearing and hear from the first speaker. Please state your name and ready to go whenever you're ready.
This is slightly different from my Adobe interface. I just want to make it full screen.
Sure. Maybe ask City Clerk if they can help.
Let's see. You. Oh, here we go. Oh, great. Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Okay. Thank you. My name is Molly Reichert, and and good afternoon, council members. I'm a longtime resident of Southwest Minneapolis. My connection to the city runs deep. My father grew up taking the streetcar from Minneapolis, from Linden Hills to downtown Minneapolis in the 1940s and 50s to attend Boy Scout meetings. I grew up hearing again and again what a mistake it was to get rid of such an essential public asset. From a young age, I understood that urban design and policy decisions, large and small, shape the daily life in a city. I saw early on that we can't take a vibrant city for granted. It takes care, it takes vision, and it takes listening. In the 1990s, I was your classic alternatine, and my favorite place to spend time was Uptown. It was more than just a neighborhood. It was the center of something vital: fashion, art, queer visibility, alternative music. Even the food felt cooler, edgier, more global. Pre-internet, Uptown was our platform. Counterculture, creativity, and inclusivity made it a core part of Minneapolis's identity. Today, I'm speaking as an appellant of the 7 Points Apartments project, not to oppose the development, but to insist that we get it right. With nearly 20 years teaching architecture and urban design, I know the form and function of ground-level space determines whether an area thrives or declines. The economic vitality of dense neighborhoods depends on active, street-level commercial space. We've seen smart mixed-use development transform underused corners into revenue-generating community anchors, as it has at 38th and Nicollet and in the North Loop. Uptown used to be this kind of anchor, but large format retail and generic boxes have left too many dark windows and for lease signs. Removing commercial frontage at Hennepin and 31st, one of the most walkable, transit-rich intersections in the Midwest, erodes both neighborhood character and economic momentum. A strong commercial district needs more, not fewer, storefronts in sizes that help entrepreneurs grow, from pop-ups to permanent shops. Active storefronts are more than an amenity. They are an engine. They drive sales tax revenue, raise property values, boost foot traffic, sustain jobs, and prevent the cycle of vacancy and blight. They create reasons to visit a neighborhood that are central to Minneapolis's 2040s vision. This proposal fails policies 9, 57, and 58. Public safety is also a concern. Safety comes from activating the street, not retreating from it. When people walk to shops, meet at cafes, or sit on patios, there's more eyes on the street, making everyone feel safer. Designs that turn ground floors inward toward private lobbies and amenities remove these eyes. Active storefronts and transparent facades bring life and visibility to the sidewalk, making Uptown safer and more vibrant. The current plan fails policies 4, 6, 7, and 80. The proposed plan replaces much of that potential with private, non-revenue uses, lobbies, mailrooms, bike storage, turning valuable real estate into economic dead space. Routing pedestrians through the mall to reach parking stifles street activity, harms surrounding businesses, and reduces safety. While it may meet zoning requirement, it falls short of the city's vision for a thriving retail core. Nothing about this building says Uptown. It could just as easily sit in a parking lot in Eagan or Edina. Too much of the ground floor is private, with few street-facing doors, no walkout units, and no public-facing amenities. This fortress approach keeps activity inside and offers little to the neighborhood. That's why we're asking for a short pause and council support to reshape this project with community input, so it truly reflects Uptown's character and helps restore its energy. The Minneapolis 2040 plan's destination mixed-use designation is an economic strategy. Concentrated commercial activity in high-density, high-transit areas delivers the greatest return. Dropping that requirement here is short-sighted. The site delivers careful planning and real stakeholder participation. That hasn't happened. This site deserves careful planning and real stakeholder participation. That hasn't happened. Neighborhood groups were excluded until the last minute. Build Public stepped in to gather input and create a public realm-based plan grounded in community feedback, the Uptown Futures Forum, and key 2040 plan elements. Their plan keeps the 228 housing units, but also adds active residential and commercial frontages, a central plaza for gatherings, and thoughtful streetscape design. I urge the committee to provide a 30-day continuance so Doran, North Pond, and stakeholders can integrate this plan. It's a win for the developer, a win for the neighborhood, and a win for the city. We know what works. Spaces that engage the public realm, mix housing with retail, and create destinations where people spend both time and money. This project could do that if we take the time. As I close, I return to my father's streetcar rides. When we dismantle vital parts of our city, we lose more than infrastructure. We lose connection, opportunity, and the daily life that makes a city worth living in. My 1990s Uptown taught me how a neighborhood can be the beating heart of a city, alive with creativity, visibility, and belonging. Those experiences are why I'm here. We can't take a vibrant city for granted. It takes care, it takes vision, and it takes listening. Let's make this the project future generations remember as the moment we reinvested in Uptown's heart, not the moment we let it slip away. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for your testimony. All right, I'm gonna have the other side, or Doran, if they wanna come. You have 7 minutes, sir.
Good afternoon, Chair Osman, members of the council. My name's Adam Niblick, and I'm with the law firm of Taft, Stettinius and Hollister in Minneapolis. I'm here speaking today on behalf of Doran Companies and in support of their residential housing project. Having watched the underlying Planning Commission meeting, having read the staff reports, and after having witnessed staff presentation today, it is abundantly clear that the facts and records support the Planning Commission's finding and the approvals of both the conditional use permit as well as the site plan, which are the subject of today's appeal. Notwithstanding the sufficiency of the Planning Commission's approvals, I'd like to address a few items alleged by appellant. First, appellant alleges that the planned redevelopment project is inconsistent with the city's 2040 comprehensive plan. Specifically, appellant alleges that the redevelopment project is inconsistent with the destination mixed-use future land use category of the comp plan, namely because it does not have commercial retail spaces at the street level. The location of this redevelopment is indeed within the comprehensive plan's destination mixed-use category, which in relevant part provides commercial retail uses are required at the street level of all developments in this category to encourage pedestrian activity beyond the typical daytime business hours. Appellant's allegations ignore two salient facts, though. First, it ignores that the redevelopment project is a component part of an overall planned unit development and that planned unit developments are conditionally permitted uses in this district to provide flexibility in the use of land and the placement and size of buildings. Notably, the City of Minneapolis defines a planned unit development as a large-scale integrated development, often including 2 or more uses. Second, appellant's allegations ignore that the planned unit development at issue here contains a shopping center component that does provide commercial uses at the street level. Since the planned residential development is a component part of a planned unit development, and because that planned unit development has commercial uses at the street level, it is, by its very nature, consistent with the destination mixed-use future land use category. Notwithstanding the reality that the redevelopment project, which is a multifamily housing project, is indeed consistent with the destination mixed-use future land use category, the core of this appeal fails to acknowledge the precise language of the city's conditional use permit ordinance. Code Section 525.38 provides, in relevant part, that conditional uses must be consistent with applicable policies of the comprehensive plan. Destination mixed use is a future land use category, not a specific and enumerated policy of the comprehensive plan. While future land use categories are indeed tools for the implementation of land use policies of the comprehensive plan, they are not in and of themselves policies of the comprehensive plan. Enumerated comprehensive plan policies that are applicable to the present conditional use permit application, though, are notably Policy 1, Access to Housing, and Policy 4, Access to Commercial Goods and Services. This residential development is consistent with both Policy 1 as well as Policy 4. Policy 1, Access to Housing, was notably adopted to increase the supply of housing and its diversity of location and types within the city of Minneapolis. A strategy recognized by the comprehensive plan to further Policy 1 is to quote-unquote increase housing choices and housing supply by allowing multifamily housing on select public transit routes with higher densities along high-frequency routes. In appellant's own printed written materials, it is recognized that the proposed redevelopment lies on one of the highest ridership transit lines in the Twin Cities, that being Bus 6, soon to be E-Line, and just a half block away from another of the region's highest ridership transit lines, Lake Street's B. It cannot be denied that a multifamily residential development located on a high-frequency public transit route is consistent with the policy number 1 of the comprehensive plan. Likewise, policy number 4 of the comprehensive plan, access to commercial goods and services, was adopted to improve access to goods and services via walking, biking, and transit. Policy 4 recognizes that building more housing near transit provides the opportunity for people to live without a car, for households to have fewer cars, and to help work toward a carbon-free future. A strategy recognized by the comprehensive plan to further Policy 4 is quote-unquote to increase access to commercial goods and services by allowing multifamily housing on select public transit routes with higher densities along high-frequency routes. Again, this proposed high-density multifamily residential development lies along 2 of the highest ridership transit routes in the metro area. The redevelopment project, accordingly, is also consistent with Policy 4 of the comprehensive plan. In the written materials, appellant also broadly asserts that the planned redevelopment would be injurious to the use and enjoyment of the surrounding properties because it would, quote-unquote, send a signal that the uptown is dead, that commercial uses cannot survive here, and that the signal would harm property values in the vicinity. Notably, though, appellant provides nothing in support of these assertions. And the Minnesota Court of Appeals has held a city may consider neighborhood opposition to a conditional use permit only if based upon concrete information. Here, the record is devoid of any concrete information that would support the assertion that this redevelopment would be injurious to the use or enjoyment of surrounding properties. Conversely, however, concrete information and reliable testimony was presented within the staff report as well as presented at the Planning Commission meeting. All of that demonstrated a likely reality that is opposite of what appellant asserts. That is, that this planned multifamily residential development would complement and support commercial uses and provide vitality to the uptown neighborhood. For these reasons that the staff recommend approval, for the reasons that the Planning Commission granted approval, and for the reasons set forth in my testimony today, I respectfully urge that you deny this appeal, you affirm the Planning Commission's approvals so that my client can proceed with a project that has been recognized as a meaningful contribution to the uptown neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to go through the list here. The first person to speak is Laura Macro.
Hi,
Welcome.
my name is Laura McGraw. I manage 7 Points, which includes the building, the parking ramp, and the vacant lot. I started in 2019. At that time, the shopping center was 72% occupied, and the parking ramp was thriving. As with many commercial buildings in the metro, we've experienced a lot of bad things over the last 5 years. We are currently at 35% occupied, and at the end of the month, we're going to be a lot lower. The lack of customer traffic and little to no office workers in the area is an open invitation to crime. Every weekend, we get tagged because there's no activity downtown, or down in Uptown. At least once a week, I have to get a special cleaning crew out because somebody has defecated inside and/or around my property. My staff is continually picking up needles and helping others with drug overdoses and working with MPD. I received multiple calls from neighbors telling me about pop-up encampments behind my parking ramp, and this is all due to vacancy. The conditions cost money and really create a lot of challenges, even to get employees to even work there. Although we have welcomed local startups in street storefronts, and we don't even charge them hardly any rent, they very rarely succeed due to lack of customers as well as workers in Uptown. Am I done?
Yes, wrap it up.
Okay, I support the project going forward, obviously. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next person is Brian Zadorak. Hi, welcome.
Hello, I'm the president of the South Uptown Neighborhood Association and a member of our Land Use and Transportation Committee. A letter that we had sent for the initial Planning Commission meeting was included as part of this appeal. I believe it's important that as an organization, we clarify our position that we do not support nor oppose this appeal, and that, a lot of the concerns that we had about the initial project still remain. The lack of retail along Hennepin, the colors, and the walkway and the facade being slightly boring. But we appreciate the Doran Company and Michael Lander and North Pond for being in communication with us. And we just hope that this can all come together and everybody can work together to get what's right for Uptown. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. Next person is Lorna Rocky. Hi. So bad at names.
No. Hi, my family immigrated to the United States and bought a house on Fremont right behind this property in 1969. I went to grade school where the 7 Points is right now, so I have seen this community and this space go from its apex in the 70s and 80s and 90s to really going to, dying on the vine. They even took away the art fair this year. That was a huge deal for the Uptown area, and that's no longer there. I'm really concerned about this development because when Duran first came in, they promised that they were going to work with the community. And we got to know them really well. I've seen a lot of people like Landers come in and do good work, and then other people promise things and not really come through. But they came through and they said, nope, we really want to work with you guys. We want to help you guys. We want to help the community. I even got to know them well enough that one of them got married and we gave them champagne and wine glasses for their wedding. And then when they came through and they revitalized this plan, they never showed us this revised version that had no retail and that was only going to put in what seemed like another gated community that we don't need in the heart of Uptown. It doesn't help the community at all. It's not going to help us. And I think the biggest deal for me with all of this is that they're not offering a both and, they're offering an either or. And that doesn't work because Uptown is dying on the vine, and we don't need just another complex of apartments. We need a place that's going to work for all of us. And I agree with Molly. I think bringing people to the area is the only way that's going to happen. Putting in another building is not going to make that happen. And I think they need to stick by their word.
Thank you so much. Our next person is Sam Rockwell.
Members of the committee, thank you for allowing me to speak today. My name's Sam Rockwell. I live in southwest Minneapolis, and I live there in part because of Uptown. In fact, before we put an offer on our house, I stood on our front stoop and I timed the walk to Hennepin and Lake to make sure we were close enough to centers of activity. I've spent much of my life working and volunteering around city issues, including as a Minneapolis Planning Commissioner during the drafting of and passage of the 2040 Comprehensive Plan. And as a commissioner, I sometimes sat in a similar position to the one you're in today, which is trying to find that path between short-term opportunities and our long-term needs as a city. In the short term, we know we need to continue to build housing in Minneapolis, and we all want fewer vacancies and more activity in Uptown. But part of why Uptown has struggled is that we tried to use suburban ideas, big mall, chain stores, in one of our key urban contexts, with all the needed parts of a thriving urban ecosystem, like transit access, walkable streets, high-density neighborhoods, and extraordinary pedestrian and biking activity within a stone's throw at the lake and the Midtown Greenway. If I were to describe in general terms the kind of place where we should have active and interesting streets and buildings, this is it. This suburban idea for Uptown worked for a while, but it was not right for the long term. And in the long term, we know it works in our cities. Small commercial spaces accompanied by housing, places where daily needs can meet arts and business incubation. And we know it works in Minneapolis. We see it on Eat Street and on 13th Street Northeast, on East Lake, and on 50th Street South, and it can work here too. So I encourage the council to invest in Uptown by making a decision for the long term, and by committing city resources to making this site and the corridor what it can and should be. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Next person is Bob Close.
Thank you. My name is Bob Close. I'm a landscape architect and an urban designer, and the focus of my work on this project has been the public realm. The space between the buildings where so many of us live our daily lives. At Build Public, with whom I'm working, planning the public realm really is the place where we start with all design. The black and white diagram you see on your screen is really clearly showing where the public realm exists in this proposal.
Hold on one second, sir. Can you show us what he's... Oh, here we go.
You're good.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Do you have the diagram now?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
Go ahead.
good. You can see Hennepin Avenue's on the left of the black and white slide, and there's the major central courtyard connecting directly through to Girard and the parking deck, and also to the north through 7 Points to get to Lake Street. So there's trying to be a very direct and very clear, understandable set of spaces that people can move through. And Girard itself is being transformed in this idea to a much more pedestrian-scaled street. Yes, emergency vehicles can come through, but it is scaled for micro kinds of businesses. Food trucks can be in there and that sort of thing. The colored diagram you see shows how the plan works. And what it boils down to is activating the edges where buildings meet the ground. What you see in dark red is ground level retail, opening onto the plaza and that 22-foot wide connection to Girard. What you see in yellow is ground level residential, And I want you to note that the residences have individual entries and stoops out to the street instead of a single entry for all the housing. And this activates 31st and Girard, providing more eyes on the street and a safer, really more beautiful public realm. One important aspect of this proposal is the idea of opening that south wall of 7 Points. And that's it, huh? Opening.
Wrap it up.
Huh?
Wrap it up, go ahead. Wrap it up.
Okay, just opening the south wall of 7 Points to be able to allow businesses from 7 Points to open onto that central plaza, further activating that space. It gives breathing room to the mall, which currently proposes a more interior kind of connection. This brings it out to the public realm and the exterior connection. So last but not least, the images on the bottom here are really all about what public space should feel like in a place like this. We're emphasizing human scale, walkability, and a lot of landscaping. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Next person is Tony Crema? Tony K.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Tony Correa. I'm a 33-year citizen of the city of Minneapolis, and I work 1 block from the site. I manage 3 properties on Hennepin Avenue. Public safety in the area has been a big concern. We have encountered steep increases in crime, including garage break-ins, drug use, car theft, vandalism, and assault of even one of our tenants. Things are down in Uptown. We know our community functions by looking out for each other. We need more people, more activity, more observation to increase security and reduce crime. We need more effective police who have the trust of the community, and we also need to get mentally ill and addicted people compassionate social services. The Minneapolis 2040 plan requires using crime prevention through environmental design, CPTED, principles for all new developments. We would like to know if and when the approved project has been reviewed for these principles. To be effective, the review must have to have happened by now, when the site plan is available. It's too late if not done until the PDR process and the key site plan elements are already in place. We see key deficiencies in the approved plan. There is no clear, safe passage from the Hennepin to Girard. The interior passage through the mall is a big cost and an accident waiting to happen. No stoops connect the building to the street and the neighbors to each other. No retail frontages to provide observation and enliven and activate Hennepin Avenue. An insular design. Few eyes on the street. The Build Public Realm Plan was designed with the 4 key CPTED elements in place: natural surveillance and visibility, lighting, clear public and private space, and natural access control. The plaza connects Hennepin to Girard to full view with hundreds of windows looking out for security. The public realm connects and provides eyes on the street in every direction, and beauty, and that inspires caretaking, a critical part of safe environments. The Build Public Plan builds community. It will have a more significant impact on lifting up Uptown.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next person is Sam Winger.
Yeah, I'd like to use my time actually to play a short video.
Sure.
If that's okay with everybody. Give me
That's
one
fine.
moment to cue it up. And there is no sound associated with this. That's essentially it. I'm just queuing this up for the others. Thank you.
That's it? All right, thank you. I'm going to recognize the next person. Ethan Knight. Welcome.
Good afternoon. I'm a homeowner in Uptown and am disappointed by how the community has been sidelined by Doran and the Uptown Association. The large empty storefronts that once hosted tenants like Apple, Victoria's Secret, and Timberland Shoes are all vacant, while smaller storefronts from Knox to 35W are filled. I feel for the 7 Points Mall. It's empty and running it must be incredibly difficult. But using retail space in the mall as rationale for taking retail off the street will not add vibrancy to the area when businesses like Muna Muna and Mosaic Coffee are thriving, giving a model for what the neighborhood needs. As a neighborhood, we have demanded reactivation of the area, like the Doran Plus plan. Ample space for small businesses and green areas while building homes is just what the area needs. Just today, a study showed mixed-use development reduces car trips by 65% compared to non-mixed-use buildings. If we want a sustainable, vibrant neighborhood, we need developments like Doran Plus. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next person is Andrew Carbon. Andrea.
I'll be Andrew.
Welcome.
Hello, thanks for letting me speak today. I'm the president of the Uptown Association, and I took pictures of this public realm in Uptown just this morning at 11:15. And I just wanted you to see that we do have an incredible public realm already in Uptown that's just empty. This is right by the Greenway. This one here was a park with a fountain. I mean, it was beautiful. Lots of people. It's empty. There's plenty of public realm in Uptown right now. We have got to activate our public realm that we have. Adding another public realm isn't going to bring back Uptown. I support the Doran project. There is no Doran Plus project because there's no funding, there's no property owners, there's no approvals behind that project. It's a sham project that somebody is pushing out saying that there's a possibility for. So let's get this project moved forward, please, and be a part of what's next for Uptown, because it's coming back. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Appreciate it. Next person is Sam Arkin.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
We only got 2 minutes. Sorry about that. I'll do my best.
Yes.
I'm going to do my best here. And I'm Sam Ankin, the founder, owner of North Pond Properties. We're the owner of 7 Points Mall. We are a retail-only owner across the country. We're fortunate to own plus or minus 100 properties across the country. We've been involved in 10-plus properties in the Twin Cities. We currently own 6 properties. We bought the property, the whole 7 Points, former Calhoun Square property, towards the end of 2019. It's been a really tough 6 years, to be honest. Through that period of time, we did have an original plan that was similar to what a lot of people have talked about. That was adding housing, adding density, removing the national big box retailers, bringing in local, smaller boxes that fit the community, that brings back what people really loved about Uptown back in the day. Over those 6 years that were troubling and challenging, we've met with countless developers, worked with countless developers, architects, plans, over a dozen different multifamily groups looking at different ways to design this project. Doran is the only one to get it done. To be clear, we are the contract seller of that property on that side. Over that 6 years, none of the people, we've met with the South Uptown group, we've met with a lot of the stakeholders in the community. I've never heard from anyone on the appellant side until just the last month in mid-July for the first time. To be honest, there are pretty pictures there, but I think we have to deal with the reality, and Doran has stuck with the project as a contract purchaser and is ready and has the capital in a very tough environment to get the project done. I think what's really important to talk about too is we still have, as city staff talked about 175,000 square feet of space that's 95% vacant. What we want to do is work with the community, once this Doran plan gets done, to improve the connection, improve the access, improve the public realm, add green space, add connections, add small shops. We have 3 tenants that we're actively negotiating with that work with the new Doran plan that are ready to go. But what we want to do is we have a whole half of a block that a lot of the ideas that are being talked about, we still have room to talk about. How we make that connection to the parking deck, how we make that connection to the
Thank
community.
you.
That's what we do around the country, and we really want to have the opportunity to do that, and that would happen if the Doran project can start this year.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yep. Next person is Donna Minter. Welcome.
Somebody left their phone here? Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Donna Minter, and I live in the East Baday-Makaska neighborhood. I want development that promotes public safety and positive community engagement. On June 25th, more than 200 neighbors met to discuss the future of Uptown. The mayor and other community leaders were present. I first learned about the redevelopment of 7 Points at a recent East Baday-Makaska livability meeting on July 21st. At that meeting, I learned that prior to that meeting, Doran did not meet with any of the 4 neighborhoods to present their final plans, and that Doran plan no longer included micro retail shops, stoops, and connection between Hennepin and Girard Avenues. In contrast, I learned that Build Publix met with Uptown South neighborhood on July 2nd and the 11th. Build Public met with my neighborhood by video on July 21st and in person on August 7th to discuss the Doran Plus plan. Build Public contacted 2 additional Uptown adjacent neighborhoods to alert them to their work. East Baday-Makaska was the only neighborhood that had a meeting in August. At that meeting, they voted to submit a letter of support for Build Public's plan. Our neighborhood outreach started in earnest on Saturday, August 9th. We dropped 1,500 postcards at neighborhood doors. We talked to many neighbors. We placed 30 posters throughout the neighborhood and sent over 250 emails to build awareness and ask for community engagement. As of this morning, an online survey sent out to community members said that there were 338 votes in favor of the Build Public plan and only 37 in favor of the Doran plan.
Thank you so much for your
Thank you.
testimony. Yep. Right. Next person is Bruce. Can't even say the last name. Bruce, welcome.
Hi, my name is Bruce Brunner, and I live in East Baday neighborhood as well. I know several city council people because I'm a small-scale developer and builder and own housing throughout the city. And the part of this process I've gone through myself that I find disappointing is the engagement. Everyone on the council, and Councilmember Rainville has pushed this very hard, is you need to work with the neighborhoods, you need to work with the people that live around. That really has been a letdown. If there's ways to engage people, you need to reach out. We really haven't seen that at all. And from the initial engagement, the things have changed as well. I ask you to pause this so you guys can make this project adhere to a better result. Doing the bare minimum, creating, as someone said, a gated community right in the middle of Uptown at one of the best intersections isn't doing that. You need to have them pushed in a way that they engage with what's helpful to the neighborhood. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Next person is Declan Pursmith.
Hey, good afternoon. I'm Declan Bursmith. I grew up in South Minneapolis, and I've seen the decline of the 7 Points Shopping Center. And the new design that the Doran Company is pushing forward, it's a 4/1. I mean, it's a 5/1, and I mean, it's like I've seen so many of these 5/1s. They're all the same thing. There's no retail on the bottom floor. It's kind of disappointing. Like, there's no real development. It's all the same, and it's all like cookie cutter. I mean, you go to any beautiful city around the world, and you see how their streets are and the people on the streets, and everyone's just kind of living life and enjoying themselves. And what's currently proposed, I'm going to go there. I'm not going to enjoy myself. So I think it should be reconsidered. We should slow down, and we should get this right. We have the opportunity to get it right. We see the plans by the Build Public has presented, and I mean, it looks a whole lot better. There's a lot more colors in that presentation we saw, that's for sure. And yeah, I mean, that's all I have. I support the Build Public plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person is Eric. Is it Eng?
Engie.
Yep. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you for taking your time to listen to all of us. My name's Eric Engie. I'm an Uptown resident and business owner for 30-plus years. For my business, I walk around Uptown every day, talk to every business in Uptown. I kind of have a little pulse of what's going on there, right? I feel. We need this shovel-ready project to move forward and keep the momentum in Uptown going. Uptown's coming back. It really is. People are excited about it. But again, we need the shovel-ready project ready to go to move forward to keep this momentum going. We have plenty of green space in Uptown, public space that is underutilized right now. So so I don't believe we need more public space so that we can even use the stuff that's available right now. The Build Public project had many years to buy this property or build on this property, and now they're coming up with a plan that we have a shovel-ready project ready to go. There are many other areas in Uptown to develop. If they want to keep developing Uptown, that'd be great. The building has been dead for about 5 years. And again, we have a shovel-ready project waiting to change that building. Let's keep the momentum going in Uptown and keep this project moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next person is Annie Foss. All right. Please go ahead.
Oh, it's
State your
okay.
name.
We're making you work really hard
No, it's just
today.
it's the handwriting part.
I'm Ane Fossey. I've been a resident for about 5 years, but familiar with Uptown since the 1970s. My brother used to play in a punk rock band in the area quite a bit. I want to talk about the walkability of the area mostly. I know that with our 2040 plan, streets are narrowing, bike lanes are increasing. There's less dependence on cars is what we really want. And the road construction knows it. Doran knows it. For 228 units, they want to rent 130 parking spaces and have 45 bicycle spaces. Clearly, this is a walking area. Unfortunately, Doran's original plan, as amended, and I want to appeal that amendment. They're taking away the shops in the bottom. As a person who walks, those places are very important to me. Little shops give me a spot to rest. The Doran Plus plan has a connection from one public place to another. For me, that's very important. I get a resting spot. I'm about 60 years old. I don't walk as far as I used to. I like to sit down and rest, even in winter. So the small scale of having little businesses on the bottom floor that I can go into makes things so much better for me. It also makes it so much better for businessmen and women. I'm sorry for the sexist language, for having places to build. In times of a development drought, it's tempting to go with anybody who wants to do new construction. However, we shouldn't rush for it. These days, we are planting the seeds of trees that our sons and daughters will be sitting under. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next person is Eddie Landenberger.
Hey, thank you. I used to live above Locomotion in Uptown. I now live in Kingfield, Minneapolis resident. I care about Uptown. I deeply care about Uptown. My company, Assembly MN, is working for the 7 Points Retail. Even before this assignment, I've spent the last few years talking to, as a real estate broker, commercial real estate broker who works with small local businesses, talking about what it's going to take to get businesses back into Uptown. And I can wholeheartedly say that I support Doran's project here, because what I am hearing from these businesses, these are all local small businesses, is that they want some momentum. They want a show of investment. This comes up time and time again. And I can easily say, since we've started this assignment to lease up the 7 Points Retail, that it's been really tough. It's been really tough to get that buy-in, get that excitement going. But now, because of this project, we are having these active conversations again. So after a lot of fits and starts, a lot of businesses are asking, when is this apartment building going to get built, and when can I move in to Uptown? And we have several on the docket right now that we're working with, and these are all very exciting businesses. There are a lot of folks in this room that know me. They know what businesses I work with, and they are in support of this project as well. So we're super excited to keep on working on the retail here and to get Uptown back filled with retail and the types of businesses the folks here want. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next person is Aaron Rubenstein. Welcome.
Thank you, and good afternoon. My name's Aaron Rubenstein. I'm essentially a lifelong, by the way, I submitted a page and a half statement to you. I'm essentially a lifelong 66-year resident of Uptown, a former city of St. Paul, a city planner whose assignments included neighborhood revitalization and staffing the zoning committee of the Planning Commission, a former South Uptown Neighborhood Association, or CARIC president, been a member of the SUNA's Land Use and Transportation Committee for 22 years and chaired it for about 10 years. Today I'm speaking only for myself and not SUNA. I oppose Doran's proposed plan because it's a horrible plan. It will hasten the demise of Uptown rather than help revive it. It's an inward-facing behemoth of bland, unimaginative, banal design that turns its back on one of the city's most important commercial arteries, Hennepin Avenue. Housing alone will not revive Uptown. The hundreds, if not thousands, of new apartments nearby along the Midtown Greenway prove that. What Uptown needs is something special, something that will draw people to it. I want to point out what the zoning code says about the purpose of PUDs, planned unit developments. The provisions of this and this is chapter 527.10. The provisions of this chapter provide for flexibility in the use of land and placement of buildings in order to better utilize the special features of sites and to obtain a higher quality of development that incorporates high levels of amenities that might not otherwise occur under the strict application of zoning regulations for users of the site, the neighborhood, or the city as a whole. Also, to encourage a compatible mixture of commercial, institutional, and residential development that is both attractive and highly functional, and to encourage innovation in site design. I encourage you to lay over this matter for 28 or 30 days so that Doran can work with Build Public to drastically revise the project while still meeting their needs and objectives. Build Public's plan is fantastic and a huge contrast. While people may disagree, if Doran is willing to do that, of course, while people may disagree about the merits of this project, and they do disagree, the city ultimately, I urge you to either lay it over or grant the appeal and deny approval of the project. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Next person is Carla Perdue. Hi.
Hi, my name is Carla Pardue. I live in Ward 10, right off of Lake Street. I have lived in Uptown for 40 years. And I have to tell you, watching all this testimony has really, it's really shaken me up, because I've watched my neighborhood just completely die. And where was Build Public these past 5 years? Where was anybody trying to do anything? And now Doran comes in and wants to do something, and all everybody wants to do is tear it up. I think it's really easy to come in and rip something up. Why don't we try to build something? And I'm sorry, it's just very upsetting to see this, because I think that Uptown is at an inflection point. And if we keep pushing everything off, then it is going to die. I ask you to not let perfect be the enemy of good, and help Uptown by getting something started. And if Build Public wants to build public realms, there are lots of empty storefronts. I walk by them every day. But I'll tell you right now, there's nobody else walking with me. There's a lot of talk of, oh, there's all this transit and all this walking. I walk and there's nobody there. So maybe this apartment building will get some people there who will have to walk places. Maybe someone will be there to walk with me to Lund's, because I've been accosted twice just trying to shop a block from my house. So I'm sorry I get upset, but I just think let's do something positive. Let's build something. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Next person is Randy Fielding.
Thank you, council members and participants. I'm so glad to have a chance to talk today. My name is Randy Fielding. I'm the owner and architect and developer of the Hummingbird Building at 35th Street and Hennepin. It's a mixed-use structure with offices and apartments above. And first, I also want to thank Doran and North Pond for doing something. I don't think it's an either or. I really don't think that we're saying tear it all down. 228 housing units. It's a great idea. But I think Build Public is making it much better, going from good to great. My own experience at 35th and Hennepin is that small deck and garden and the glass doors opening to Hennepin Avenue make a huge difference. So I see, I've made so many friends. People just stop by with their kids and their dogs because we've activated the street front. Let's do that. I see in some ways some people villainizing Michael Lander because he lives in Barcelona part of the year. I think Michael has done 40 wonderful projects in this city. Let's accept it as a gift, this great idea. The fact that he didn't do 2 years ago doesn't mean he didn't do something wonderful now. Let's accept it. Let's work together. The public plaza, I know there's some issues with funding. I'm wondering if we could use some of that money that goes for, typically I think it's let's see, it's the city collects money for parks, and there's a fund there, millions of dollars that hasn't been spent, and some of that could be used to support the construction of that park and the maintenance of it. Community planning and economic development at the beginning said this is not an option, that the Doran plan is something, it's a sham, we can't accept it. That's really upsetting. I think they're a very thoughtful group of people. Thank them for all their work, but it's not a sham, and this is an opportunity to do something
Thank
wonderful.
You. Right. Next person is Jacob Sanfleet. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you, Chair Osman, council members of the committee. I am Jacob Softly. I'm an attorney with Eckberg Lammers, 1809 Northwestern Boulevard, Stillwater, Minnesota. I'm here on behalf of Build Public, and I want to address a few things. First and foremost, the testimony from people here today is qualified testimony. Minnesota courts have held that when people have personal experiences or professional qualifications, that is sufficient to overcome even expert-rated testimony. Next, I want to address site plan requirements. We are addressing site plan here today. We haven't had any public safety analysis as part of the record. We haven't had any public safety through intentional design as part of the record. That's a really important part of this process in ensuring safety in Uptown in this development and future developments. The conditional use permit requirements haven't been yet. I think this project is harmful because of its inward nature. All the eyes on the street are focused inwards. All the inactive uses are on the ground floor. All the balconies face inside. There's no activity outside. It exploits the neighborhood, it benefits from the neighborhood, and it gives nothing back in exchange. I think there's another bigger problem here, and I think there's an inconsistency between the comprehensive plan and the zoning ordinance. I think that creates some legal risk for this project moving forward, and I think we should take a look at that, and with that in mind, continue this project for 2 cycles and allow people to figure out what's going on in that regard. But we have a zoning ordinance that allows for commercial developments or for mixed-use developments to exist without commercial activity at street level in certain qualifying PUD districts. And yet Policy 4 of the comp plan clearly states that new buildings in high-density, high-traffic, high-transportation areas are required to have commercial uses at the ground level. I don't know if you can see the slide I'm putting up, but it comes straight out of the policies from Plan 4, and as stated by the applicant's attorney, I mean, the policies are what you have to follow when you look at the comprehensive plan. When there's a discrepancy between the comp plan and the zoning ordinance, you have to follow the comprehensive plan. Minnesota Statute 473.858, Mendota Gulf v. City of Mendota Heights, 20 years ago. And so I urge you to continue this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person is Jeff Harmon.
Hello, Commissioners. Thank you. I have worked in the Uptown area, helping neighborhood retailers to create a vibrant, livable district for the past 20 to 30 years. And first, I want to applaud Dorn for coming back to the table. At one point, the city made it incredibly hard for them to do business and actually chased them out. So I think this is one of the first projects that they are doing in the city since then, and they've stuck with this, as well as North Pond. When our city was burning, when Uptown was burning, they stayed here, they stuck with it, and they defended this area, and they're trying to turn around what is a troubled shopping center that over the past 20 years you've seen developers come in like Principal Life Insurance, spent 10 years here, and then left the project. Then you had J.P. Morgan, who came in, another national real estate company, and they left the project. And now you have North Pond in here, and they're going to actually put in the time and the money and the effort to make this happen. I do want to also say this is a good problem. It's not a bad problem. You have someone like Michael Lander, when he was working in the city, who did some of the finest mixed-use urban infill retail in set a bar for design that is still setting that bar today and encouraging a lot of smaller developers to do infill projects that model exactly what he's done. The one thing I do want to say is when the city came in and they redid our streets and in many cases destroyed the urban fabric of the Uptown area by taking away our parking and hurting so many businesses. One of the things that they did was increase our sidewalks to 17 feet, 17 feet, because in their mind it was going to encourage the pedestrian experience on the streets, the walkability of our streets. And so my only appeal to you today, first of all, I do not want you to slow the dorm project down. I want you to continue with it, but I would like everyone to consider and Dorn, please consider putting a retail use on the corner of 31st and Hennepin, or some retail use somewhere in that building, because I think it will add to the walkability. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Next person, Michael Lender.
Hi. Good afternoon. My name is Michael Lander. This is my neighborhood for over 30 years. I want to thank everyone who's testified today and all the people that wrote in. We got over 350 responses when we asked who cares about Uptown, and so I hope the message is clear that a lot of us do. I want to start by thanking Doran Companies for their commitment to our neighborhood and providing new housing, including 20% affordable. That is huge. But we can ask for more than that when it lifts up everyone. Uptown's down. It needs an all-hands-on-deck approach. This key site needs excellence, a catalytic project to jumpstart Uptown forward. It needs equity, a clear and prominent public realm and small business opportunities, and it needs engagement with the stakeholders in Build Public. Build Public is not a developer. We are a pro bono initiative that helps communities get better development. We got inspired by the June 25th community meeting and went to work. We started with a commitment to win, win, win. I'm going to focus on one big obstacle: fear. Fear of a delay, fear of disrupting the project financing, fear of losing the project. The only objections we've heard to the community plan is that fear. Our team has studied the project for the past 45 days and know it well. Based on that analysis, we can confidently say there will be no material delay and better financial performance. Those fears just aren't grounded in experienced analysis. I'll show you quickly what we did. First, I don't know, the double, keep going. That, no, there you go. Doran's plan there on the left is a U-shaped building. We moved it off of Hennepin because they did not want to do any retail, and we made it into a C-shape, and we added one floor so they could deliver the 228 units, as they promised, in a more efficient floor plan. We left room on the street for that retail to occur in a new, smaller building. And we created about a $2.5 million, next slide, another way.
That's what you told me.
No, the other way, I mean, there you go, I'm sorry. They bought it, they're using their full site right now, they're using only 37,000 feet, that's $2.5 million of land savings. Even better for Doran, even better for Northbound. We had boards that were going to make this much simpler, the technology makes it really hard. Just wanted to illustrate there that the walkway that's inside the mall in the Doran plan on the left is moved outside into the plaza, allowing lease space to occur there. So there's a huge financial swing for Doran there. So both the developers get millions of benefit out of the Build Public project, and the stakeholders get a visible, observed, clear passage from Hennepin to the parking ramp, a new central gathering and programming space, small shops for local small businesses lining the plaza in Hennepin, welcoming stoops on 31st and Girard, and a beautiful streetscape all around. We need to work together with Doran and North Pond and the city to address any remaining issues. We've already started and get it done quickly if we all work together. Win-win-win is within our grasp. Your leadership can make it happen. Please grant the stakeholders a one-cycle continuance and direct Doran and North Pond to work with Build Public, and we'll get it done. Thank you.
Appreciate your testimony. Thank you. Last person is Natasha.
Thank you. My name is Natasha Greiling, and I, too, have been a resident of the Minneapolis, South Minneapolis area for over 40 years. Grew up here and did also the same thing in the 90s, the 80s, 90s, and where it was Uptown was my staple. But I have been a property owner in Uptown now for 16 plus years and live a couple of blocks from the proposed Doran development. I'm involved in the residential as well as business community in Uptown in various leadership roles as well as other various ways. And I'm in support of the Doran project. I believe it's an important progress to the Uptown community and the greater city. And it would be a positive development for several reasons. It will bring another quality developer and partner into the Uptown area and will be a great taxable asset. I've seen my property values go down and my taxes go up. So it's something that's definitely needed. The project's been in front of the community since April. And really in the works in various capacities over the last 5 years. The developer I know, Doran, has made significant efforts to engage neighborhood groups as well as city leadership. On the 30th of April, there was a meeting that was held, and all of the neighborhood groups were actually invited. Only the Uptown Association and South Uptown responded and or attended to that meeting. And also at the last planning commission that we were at last month, I can't remember the date, that the East Bay Makaska mentioned that they didn't actually get a chance to send out the invite, so it was unfortunate. But the time is now really to embrace the momentum and move process forward. The delay is putting renewed activity, not only in 7 Points, but also in neighboring zones on hold and really at risk. You know, delaying will not help anyone, especially the current residents in the Uptown area. I urge you to deny the appeal. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That is the last one to speak, so I will close the public hearing and open discussion for members of the committee. And I see Councilmember Cashman first.
Thank you, Chair Osman. And as an Uptown council member, I want to provide some comments and also some reflections on what we've heard today, and also in the past few weeks since the Planning Commission also took this up. So I just want to start by thanking all the community members who are here today on both sides of the appeal, advocating for development and momentum and community and creativity in Uptown. The Build Public consultants and business owners and developers and residents who are sharing feedback. Your feedback is really important, and a lot of great ideas were shared today. The community organizing that you've done in the past few days alone is really impressive. And there was a journalist who wrote an article saying Michael Landers has good ideas for Uptown. Is anyone listening? And yes, we are listening. I think this whole room is listening and is excited about a lot of what was brought up today. I took some time reviewing this appeal and the materials provided and had heard from some residents before today's public hearing. So in viewing the Doran proposal, I too was wondering whether the elimination of ground floor retail on the parcel violated the 2040 plan, but did read through the staff analysis here and understand the confirmation here that the zoning code does allow for consideration of the whole development in that calculation of retail. I also thought about whether the facade plans that are a bit boring, no offense, I think there's a little room for growth there, along Hennepin and 31st would diminish the quality of the public realm, and I see that, you know, these plans are preliminary and that there is opportunity for more landscaping, more trees being planted, murals. The stoop idea was great, maybe the addition of a commercial site on the corner there of 31st and Hennepin, but ultimately I see that this plan is in compliance with the 2040 plan. It is in compliance with the laws that we have in place, and an appeal, a decision like this requires a grounding in legal fact, so I'm going to make the motion to deny this appeal. That said, I just want to make some comments. I believe that good revitalization efforts involve a lot of little things, not just one development that fixes everything. And so revitalization efforts can and should include new residential development, 228 new units of housing, that's great. New street festivals like Open Streets that's coming next month, and the Farmers Market that's been every Thursday. It includes new public safety initiatives, it includes funding and supporting artists. It includes improving our public realm. There's a lot we can continue to work on together there. And so I hope that all the stakeholders who are here today can continue to collaborate as you build your project, and that residents will continue, and business owners alike and visitors to the area will continue pushing each other to do better by all of us. I just have one final request that I wanted to make. As an aside, I know a lot of residents, including myself, are concerned about Twin City Skate, who's been in the current building, and I think they're a great organization, and so if any other building owners with vacancy could offer up their space to Twin City Skate, I think that would be great to see them continue to be able to be in Uptown and provide their skating business. So thank you. That is the motion that I wanted to make to put on the table and continue our discussion.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Cashman. I am in queue, and also I have Councilmember Jenkins next and Chowdhury. So I will have a couple of questions for the staff. Can you please just one more time just provide explanation of 2040 plan requires storefront, but now
Yep. The 2040 plan does call for ground level retail in certain areas of the city depending on the future land use categories. In this case, it's destination mixed use. The zoning code, in working together to meet our comp plan, says that the development must have commercial. The development in this case is the existing mall and the proposed building. So when I do the math calculations for all of the square footage in the existing building and the proposed housing, it meets the code. So when I also want you guys to think about this. It came up during the hearing. Mixed use does not have to be in the same building. Mixed use can be side by side. You could have retail, you could have commercial, you could have retail. So you have to think of mixed use does not have to all be in one building. It can be in a development in separate buildings. And that's what you have here. You have mixed use in 2 buildings on one site.
So
it does meet the code, to answer your
when I think about
question
this,
simply,
yes, the storefront, this existing mall, it's inside, not the sidewalk. Most residents were talking about just sidewalk, stores facing the street, but the existing stores are inside the mall.
Well, I would say that the mall is a lot different than it used to be or was, and that all, like H&M, all of those stores have glass on the facing Hennepin.
Gotcha.
They have to be unboarded. They're covered up. They're not there right now because
they're
there's
not there.
nothing in them. So, there will be commercial. I think what everyone is saying is that the housing is going to support the commercial that needs to come to the building, and the commercial needs to have support from the residents that will move in. That's what I'm hearing.
One last question from me about the Gerard. That's a public way, is that?
It is a vacated street. It is not a public way. It is owned by North Pond. But we have an emergency vehicle access easement over it for 20 feet to allow for fire, police, and ambulances to get through there or into that space if they have to deal with a situation, put out a fire.
You did mention there's access. There's access to whoever's going through that, and how would the emergency vehicles have access to that?
So there are knockdown bollards. Some aren't there anymore. There's supposed to be a whole row of them, but over time they've disappeared. There's knockdown bollards here. So vehicles can enter vacated Gerard and knock those bollards down and then get in to deal with the situation that's in there. And then there is an exit, not in this plan, but there's an exit out to 31st. So a vehicle can drive straight through here.
Okay, I thought I heard during the presentation there will be access for folks who wants
Yes.
go through that.
So the space in this light tan, if you will, or nude color, that is the space where you and I can't drive. We can't take our cars in there, and we're not supposed to drive through here. It's not open to the public past the entrances into the parking garage. So.
Okay.
Vehicles that are associated with the mall right now and emergency vehicles can drive through this block. But the public, I should not be driving past the entrance gate into the parking garage.
I got you.
And so to continue that, to maintain this as a non-vehicle space, asking the developer to maintain these knockdown bollards on the north end, install them on the south end, add the additional signage, and then continue having conversations, which we have had one conversation since the public hearing with our fire and police departments to talk about gate arms at these locations to fully control. I mean, one could bust through it, one could drive through a gate arm, but we're talking about gate arms with the police and the fire department right now at this location to have better control of access into the site, instead of just knockdown bollards.
Sure. Thank you. That's it for me. I'll recognize Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, Chair Osman. Some of my questions have been answered. I was really interested in this commercial retail and the relationship between 7 Points and the Doran project, because I mean, if 7 Points leaves, then does that still meet the requirement for the retail component of a mixed use to be able to establish or meet the needs of our 2040 plan? But But that being said, and I think some of those questions have been answered. I think it was Molly who mentioned 38th and Nicollet, which is an area that I represent, and Michael Landers did an amazing project at that intersection and really helped to revitalize that intersection and that corridor, I would even add. We now are home to two of America's top restaurants, including Petit Leon, which is right there at 38th and Nicollet. That said, you know, this dance between small local businesses and corporate entities is a really delicate dance, if you will. And, you know, I've been engaged in these projects for quite some time, and I hear a lot of clamoring for small businesses that we can walk to, etc. But then people don't show up at those businesses. And then we bring in the big box or national businesses like Victoria's Secrets and H&M, and they don't survive either. I mean, so it's a really, I guess, delicate chemistry to get it right. I do think that density is gotta be a big part of the answer. More people means that, you know, there are literally more people to be able to sustain these businesses. You know, that said, that's kind of my editorial, if you will. But I was curious from staff, can you talk a little bit about the murals on the south wall? I'm not sure if I understand. And would those be facing actually the interior courtyard?
Yes. Yep, so after the testimony at Planning Commission on July 21st, through discussions of the Planning Commission themselves, they came to an added condition of approval to address blank walls on the south side of the shopping center. So again, you know, there's gonna be a demolition here. This south side is gonna be exposed, and so there's gonna be a brand new wall put up. And the condition that they added, this image on the bottom is the proposed south wall. It's precast, tip-up brick panel, alternating the light and the dark every 24 feet. The Planning Commission did not think that this broke up the blank wall enough, and so they, I'm sorry, we just lost our chair. The Planning Commission added a condition that they add 4 20 by 20 foot murals on the south side of the wall. So somewhere on this wall, like in a future iteration, if this, depending on the outcome of this meeting, if the project is approved, I would need to see 4 mural placeholders on this wall as part of a building permit. So that is the condition that was added by the Planning Commission, was to paint or add 4 murals, and that Dorn would work with a muralist. Actually, this would be on North Pond's wall, so I think North Pond should also be involved in the murals being added by Doran.
But they would only be visible to the residents of the proposed project.
You will have a small glimpse into it. You will have a glimpse. There's 22 feet. That's a bad angle, obviously going the wrong direction. 22 feet of space between the south wall of the shopping center and the proposed new building. So when you are walking north on Hennepin, as you cross that 22-foot threshold, if you will see into that space.
And that threshold, however, is not accessible to the public, though, right?
That is
there will be gates.
For SEPTED purposes, for the residents, they are having gates at both the east and the west sides key card access, so residents who live here and have access control into the site can have access control into the exterior courtyard from either vacated Girard or Hennepin Avenue.
You also mentioned that there's, in the proposed development, a bike workshop. What is that?
It's for the residents. It's that all new developments are required to have meet a one-to-one bike parking requirement, and we have very specific standards for how to, how to do that. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna be able to figure out how to.
So you
zoom
said
in
there
here.
were 42 bike parking spaces, right?
Oh, those are outside. So this is public, like for the public outdoor bike parking right here. If you're looking on the screen, I'm sorry, it's so little. Oh, there's the. Sorry. This is the outdoor public parking. This is the bike workshop for the residents. So this is their bike parking, and they have a fix-it station and other equipment in there to maintain and service bikes for the residents on the inside. On the outside, these will be public bike parking spaces for those who come to Uptown to shop, those who come to the building to visit friends and family, whomever. So there will be both. There's an indoor workshop for residents where they can store and clean and repair, and then there's outdoor parking for anyone in the neighborhood.
Would that be visible to the outside? I mean, is that
Yes, these
eyes
bike-
on the streets, if you
Yes,
will?
the bike parking is, it's visible. It's located up to that property line, and so the fence that gets into the courtyard for the residents is in back of that. I'm gonna try to see if I can figure out how to zoom in. So I don't know why this is so challenging for me when I come in here and deal with this machine. So you can see, here's that fence line. I'll go, let me see if I can get a little bigger. Okay. So this is an outdoor bike area. This is just the property line. It's not like gated or fenced or anything here. You can freely walk into this space where the bike racks are. This is a fence line. And then here's the door into the bike room from the exterior and into the bike room from the interior of the building. But this bike parking area, short-term bike parking area, is for the public, and it's outside and accessible from the public sidewalk.
Okay, thank you. I guess, my last comments, that video was very interesting that we witnessed. It kind of reminded me of the development at 50th and France. It really looked very similar to that, which I'm not positive, but I thought that was a Doran development. And I know they've done some work in that area, but if not, I think some hybrid of that could really work at this intersection. But I'm not sure if there is any rationale to approve this appeal at this time, but I would encourage the developers to, listen to the community's input and potentially be able to incorporate some of those things. I heard somebody say this is not either or; it can be both and. And I, that has been a hallmark of my time on this city council, is trying to get to both and I would hope that this project could incorporate some of that as well.
Thank you. Just want to remind the members, we still have 2 items to get to. I'll recognize Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just looking at this bike parking spot and the consideration of the mural on 7 Points, I think, extending that public part back as far east as possible might be a really good compromise here. Even a public bathroom, who knows? Benches, trees, all the other things that make the public realm nice. And then I also wanted to mention that as we're considering, changes to the 2040, as we're starting to plan for the 2050 plan, which the 2040 plan was passed in 2018, so we can anticipate that we'll be passing a 2050 plan within the next few years. I do welcome community members to engage with us on what you'd like to see included in our future plans. And then finally, just wanted to amend my motion to deny the appeal and adopt the finding of facts in the staff report.
Sure.
Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Councilmember Osman. It's certainly been very interesting to kind of hear the discussion among the community and Doran and the applicant today, and then to hear from council members. One thing that I think I see here today is that everyone really cares about the future of Uptown, and I think that's a really positive thing. Like, there's shared consensus across the board. I'll say, from my perspective, I don't think that this is a bad project. I can't say that 228 units of housing is bad. I will agree that I wish that this project was more interesting. I wish that there was more community input built within it. I think that is something that I'm personally resonating with, and I think there's an opportunity here for the developer to consider doing that, because yeah, the project's going to be built, but someone's going to need to maintain it, and the resident experience, even for the tenants here, that's something that you're going to be left with for years to come, and there might be a greater benefit for there to be kind of more activation for the residents within in connection to the neighborhood, instead of this feeling of creating a gated off community that's next to a shopping center. I think that there is an opportunity for vision. But I'll say that, yeah, I can't say that this project is bad. We need more housing. We need more rental. We need more affordable. That's like very, very clear, especially in a densely transit area for people who are living in the neighborhood to get around, right? Like, I think about folks who are looking right now all throughout the city of Minneapolis for a good quality place to live and an accessible way to get to work, and then also get to great places in our city and out of our city. I want to thank the testifiers and the Build Public group for their vision. I think that it is a really good vision, and it shares a deep desire for an improved public realm, and that's not a bad thing at all. That's a really, really good thing. Like, there's just like an energy that people want back in Uptown, maybe echoing back to the days in the 90s, bringing it back here into 2025, and God knows we need more of that. And so I just really, really encourage the developer to dig deep and see what's possible, and potentially come back here in that way. But kind of looking at the reality of a quasi-judicial matter at the Minneapolis City Council is we're not able to compel any individual to work with another entity, right? That's not a role that we're able to play as council members in a quasi-judicial matter. We can't even actually sit down with Doran and community members outside of a public space until this matter is resolved, right? So we can't even engage in that way. So that puts a difficulty. Like, I can't go out into community and try to bring Doran and Build Public to a table because this is a quasi-judicial matter and we can't have ex parte communication outside of a public space, right? So that's not a role that we can play here today. I struggle with the idea of a continuance because there hasn't been evidence provided to me in this public space where a continuance would make a difference and people would move in a significant way. I do think that there's a lot of public pressure to get this project right, and I think that should be leveraged. And I think to Doran that's here, it's like, yeah, like us as council members see that in this public space. We hear from residents. The role that we can play, and I would echo back to the Planning Commission meeting, is considering different conditions that we can put within the project. I'll be honest, I'm a council member for the 12th Ward, so I'm not really thinking too deeply about the uptown area. I'd certainly visit. So it hasn't been an area where I've super dug into, but there's conditions that council members could work on. I have not explored what conditions would be feasible or possible. I'm just offering it up to the community here, like potentially that's a path to consider and a conversation to have to get to compromise. But with all of that in mind and considering what this area is zoned for and the bases that we have before us, I don't have a solid reason to deny this and to move away from staff direction. Again, like this is not closed and done until we take final action at the city council. And again, council members are not able to meet with any of the individuals that are here today outside of a public space. We can certainly receive public comment and emails, but we can't engage in a dialogue with you outside of that. So for whatever that's worth, if that's helpful. And again, that going back to encouraging Doran to really consider, is there room for a greater vision here that meets some of the things that you're hearing echoed kind of week after week from community members. So I just wanted to say those comments. I've really appreciated this discussion. It is not an easy choice, and I think Councilmember Jenkins did a good job of kind of saying that this could be a both and. It doesn't have to be an either or. I think there's a lot of power between North Pond and Doran to make those considerations. And I think community is completely right. It's like a decision today doesn't just stick to today and the next year. It has a lasting impact for many, many years. Thank you.
Thank you. See no one else. With the motion from Councilmember Cashman to deny the appeal, I'll ask clerk to call the roll. No, it was denied. I'll ask clerk to call the roll.
One moment.
Sure.
On the motion to deny, Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Ellison is not here. Rainville.
Aye.
Cashman.
Aye.
Jenkins.
Aye.
And Chowdhury.
Aye.
There are 5 ayes.
Thank you. That motion carries. Thank you, neighbors, for coming, and thanks, everyone. Next item is receive and file report from Senior Code Amendment Home Repair Program. I'll welcome Jennifer C. from CBET to speak on this item. Hi, welcome.
Chairman Osman, members of the committee, good afternoon. I'm Jennifer Camacho Shalo, Supervisor of Residential Lending for the Department of Community Planning and Economic Development. The Senior Code Abatement Program is administered through the Minneapolis Homes Owner-Occupied Rehab Program. This program provides home repair financing to low to moderate income households through a collaborative federal, state, and local partnerships, layering multiple funding sources in a single project. While resources are available within the community, navigating and coordinating a patchwork of services from multiple providers is challenging for most and presents barriers to participation for those struggling with access due to technology, education, literacy, or other disabilities. By providing more flexible financing options under a coordinated process, CPED seeks to eliminate barriers to participation by minimizing hardships in the application and project coordination process. Projects are driven by homeowner choice and funding requirements. One piece of the puzzle is support through the council-approved senior code abatement program. The program supports cost-burdened senior homeowners with code abatement and deferred maintenance that pose a health and safety risk to the household. Next. The Senior Code Abatement Program is modeled after CPED's Minneapolis Homes Owner-Occupied Rehab Program, serving homeowners who own and occupy their home up to 4 units, where household income is at or below 80% of the area median income. So when adjusted for household size. An added eligibility requirement is homeowners must be 65 years of age or older. Eligible repairs under the Senior Code Abatement Program include outstanding code compliance repairs, mitigation of hazardous materials, and other outstanding health and safety issues as identified by CPED Construction Management Specialists through a housing quality inspection. Next. Homeowners may request an evaluation of the repair needs and program participation through the owner-occupied rehab intake portal on the city's website or contact the team directly via email or phone. Once eligibility is determined, staff will review with the homeowner their repair needs and financing options to formulate a project plan. Project development for financing includes a housing quality inspection of the property, environmental hazard testing, scope of work written by CPED's construction management specialist in consideration of homeowner goals, and assessment reports. Project bidding to licensed general contractors of the homeowner's choosing. All funds are held in escrow with the city and paid out for completed work as approved by CPED and the homeowner. Next. To date, most of the $810,000 program funding is committed. Staff anticipates 2 additional projects will be funded with remaining funds. Since not all projects will utilize maximum funding, more projects may become available as pending projects are finalized. Committed funds include 1 project currently under construction and 11 projects under development for funding and construction start. These numbers translate to a $810,000 budget less $715,000 committed, with $94,000 remaining for additional projects. Funds are available on a first-come, first-served basis until depleted. Once the allocated funds in the Senior Code Abatement Program is depleted, senior needs can still be addressed through the city's Minneapolis Homes Owner-Occupied Rehab Program, state programs that CPED administers, or other resources available through other community programs that CPED staff monitors. Next. Thank you, distinguished members of the City Council and community partners, for your ongoing support of sustaining healthy and affordable homes. We are grateful for your support. I stand for questions.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I see no questions. So yes, sorry. Councilmember Jenkins. I forgot about that.
Thank you, Chair Osmond. Thank you for this presentation. This is a really amazing program that we are offering to our low-income seniors. I'm curious, how are we communicating this to seniors? Is it only after they have some code violation that they are informed of these resources? And then secondly, who performs this work? Are they able to select the contractors, or?
Yes. So we have an active pipeline of projects. People are constantly referred to us, through community agencies or by word of mouth. So the individuals will reach out to us, and we will kind of screen all participants against like a menu of financing options. So we employ kind of like a universal assessment process. So seniors who contact us will get an understanding of their needs and their general program eligibility, and then through that, we will formulate a project plan to specifically address their needs and match them up with the funding, that they could qualify for. So in addition to the senior code abatement resource, we also have resources available through the state that can further help address much larger projects. So it's this plus other resources available to us that we will leverage to address their needs. So as far as contractors, we require that general contractors who are lead certified to do this work are utilized. So homeowners are provided with a list of contractors who have demonstrated experience working with this program. And homeowners are also have the opportunity to solicit other contractors as long as, they meet the program needs. So if, for instance, if lead is not being addressed and if they only want to do a roof, then they can go out and solicit bids for those types of repairs. But generally, the goal here is to address, health and safety concerns. And so through that, we leverage general contractors who are licensed to do that work.
Are you saying a particular part of the city that is utilizing these funds? I mean, it's like 3/4 or more than that already committed.
It's anyone in the city, any senior across the city is eligible. And presently, let me see, I believe, so we've had two participants, in Ward 4, 3 in Ward 5, 1 in 7, 8, or 1 in Ward 8, 2 in Ward 10, 1 in Ward 11, and then 2 in 12. So those are just those who are actually participating in this program. But we also, as mentioned, seniors also leverage other resources that are available. So, and I don't have those specific numbers, but many of the participants have been either north or, south central.
Thank you so much.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Chair Osman. I wanted to just ask about budgeting. I see the program outcomes. It says 810,000 budgeted and a certain amount committed, and then it says anticipated that more funds will be available as the actual project costs for 11 pending projects are finalized. So I guess the question that I have is, what do you see as additional funding into the future to continue this program?
Additional funding would be the city's allocation of federal community development block grant, and then our partnership with Minnesota Housing's programs.
Okay, that's really good to hear. So we're expecting that into the next budget year as well. This isn't a program that's going to end, which we love to hear. We love to hear that. What is the capacity for the amount of projects that could be done in a calendar year? Does it sit around this 11, 12 projects, or is it anticipated to increase, decrease into the future?
So the 11 projects is just for the senior, senior code abatement funding. We, on average, do roughly 25 projects a year. So again, homeowners can leverage, up to three projects. So they're, so if there's an emergency concern, we'll address the emergency, fund that, and then if there's let's say someone, like I said, needs a roof, we can address that really quick, close on that funding, while we at the same time work on the larger health and safety issues.
Amazing. Well, I would like to personally invite you and your team, if you haven't already gotten the invite from our offices, to come to the South Minneapolis Seniors Fair that me, Councilmember Jenkins, and Councilmember Koski are hosting on October 22nd, and have an opportunity to engage with the senior community there. Would love to advertise that you'll be available and just increase greater access to this resource.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I'll ask City Clerk to receive and file for this report. And I do want to, we have about, I would say 20 minutes, 23 minutes. Would that be enough for the next presentation? Okay, sure. All right, our last item is receiving and filing presentation related to the encampment closure report. The report is a Q1 data, which is from December 19, 2024 through March 18, 2025. I'll welcome Director Velasquez for that presentation. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Chair Osman and committee members. We're in the final stretch. I'm Director Enrique Velasquez. I serve as the Director of Regulatory Services here for the City of Minneapolis, presenting on the first quarter encampment closure report. Now, just to level set real briefly, the encampment reporting ordinance requires multiple different aspects: number of closures over the previous quarter, interagency collaboration to perform the closures, outreach and engagement efforts, housing outcomes, health and safety, community impact, and then disposition of residents' personal belongings. Here's a brief outline or overview of all the different internal departments, as well as an external agency that participated in the gathering of the data here. I'll do a brief call out for Hennepin County. They provided information as far as shelter availability and housing outcomes. Now, about the report itself, a lot of words here. Really, there's just a few different elements that are comprised in the report itself. It's the data dictionary, which was set with the very first encampment closure report, the shelter availability, encampment closure data for the prior period, 911 and 311 calls for service. This includes 30 days prior to the encampment closure, the period where the encampment was in place, and then for 30 days after the closure, so we could see what the impact has been for the community, housing outcomes, and then an overview memo, which you'll have in your packets. Now, the decision to close an encampment is primarily triggered by 4 different elements: public health and public safety, community livability, and then the 4th one, externalities or environmental impacts. Externalities would include proximity to vulnerable populations such as schools, children, bus stops, vulnerable adults or elderly. Now, the time frame and number of encampment closures. So this is the second report. It covers middle of December through middle of March. There were 13 encampments closed during that period, and we see the disposition of where these 13 encampments are located. And there were 180 unsheltered residents who were affected by these closures. Now, that's not to say that it's 180 unique individuals. Some are a little bit more transient in that they relocate from one location to another. So as we count them on the day of closure, that person may have already been counted at a previous closure. So just to acknowledge that we do not have the ability to deduplicate, because we are not maintaining a by name list for every single person at an encampment on the day of closure. Housing outcomes. So we have a couple of different data points here. The homeless response team, they engaged with 269 individuals over the course of time that these encampments were in operation, these 13 over the course of the month, or over the course of the period. Of the 269 individuals that the homeless response team engaged with, 53 of them moved into shelter, accepted shelter. Separately, Hennepin County, they confirmed that there were 174 people from the Minneapolis zip codes who went from unsheltered homelessness into shelter or stable housing. Now, what they're not able to tell us here is that they're not able to indicate how many of them moved from any of these 13 encampments. What they are able to tell us is from December 19th, 2024 through March 18th, 2025, 174 people in Minneapolis became sheltered and housed, with no indication of where they were staying, only that they were staying in places that were unfit for human habitation. City resources dedicated toward encampment response, in total, just under $64,000. So if you divide that across the 13 encampments, it's right around $4,000 per encampment. And we see the distribution by department. The largest portion is with Minneapolis Police Department, followed by Public Works, third Regulatory Services, and then Finance and Property Services participated in one encampment closure. Really, that's the city security team that's embedded into Finance and Property Services. They provided some additional support on one closure for about 4 hours. We'll see that on this next slide here. In terms of staff hours by department. So while the police department, they led the way in terms of dollars expended for encampment closure, a lot of the effort was really with Public Works for their Clean City team that is responsible for cleaning up the sites and clearing the locations after people have already vacated the locations. Third, Regulatory Services, and then, as I mentioned before, the city security team with 4 hours allocated. In total, 523 hours. And a distribution of staff time and costs by date of encampment closure. We see 3 peaks throughout this table, January 6th, January 8th, and February 26th. These are the 3 dates where we had multiple encampment closures on that day. When we see the costs, they're quite a bit higher, the hours allocated also higher. Some of the complexities that we might see with these encampment closures is proximity to major thoroughfares, the community, county, state aid highways, major thoroughfares, proximity to certain communities where we might need additional support just to maintain order so that there's ease of access for people to navigate through. And certain locations might be more difficult to access from a roadway. Those are just examples of some of the things we might see when the costs and hour allocations might increase. Now, what changed from the first encampment closure reports to the second? So we see that the very first report, that actually covered 2 quarters, so half of 2024. 169 individuals were offered shelter within that 6-month period, and 269 were offered in this first quarter of 2025. So we increased the number of people who were offered shelter. Number of residents who accepted shelter also increased, which I think is more of a testament to their ability to stay out in the field and build relationships and let people know that they're there as supports. They're not there as enforcement or there to do harm in any sort of way. Our cost per closure also decreased significantly. Overall, it was $332,000 in the first report and $63,000 for the second. Some additional key takeaways. Average encampment duration was 66 days, also less than what we saw with the first report. Number of encampments that were on sites that were previously occupied. So 10 of the 13 encampments were on sites that were previously occupied or reoccupied those same sites. Average number of visits by HRT staff, 7.5, total of 98 visits. People offered shelter, we already covered. 0 arrests, multi-jurisdictional locations, so that's involves some additional collaboration with Hennepin County, Metro Transit, and MnDOT, and there were 3 sites that met that criteria. When we look at community impact, that's where measuring 311 and 911 call information is helpful, and looking at what was the condition prior to the encampment forming, what was the condition, number of 911 and 311 calls for service while the encampment was in place, and then what was the outcome after the encampment closed. And when we measure before to during to after, we see an 87% decrease in 311 calls for service, and 911 calls for service also down by 85%, which is consistent with what we saw in the very first report. All encampment residents were allowed to take all of their belongings, and Public Works only removed what was discarded and left behind. So some of the learnings from this data reporting process, I'll begin with housing outcomes. That has been a bit of a challenge to negotiate or navigate through because of how the city collects data and what data the county is able to offer. Due to HIPAA compliance and other factors, they're not able to share direct information of where people stayed the night before, which would tie into were they at this specific encampment or not. So they can only give us general information of how many people moved from unsheltered homelessness into housed. That's the extent to what they're able to provide. We're going to keep on knocking at that door and see if we can find a different pathway in to try and get closer at how many people were staying at these different encampments prior to closure that moved indoors. Because I think that's a very beneficial piece of information to have and crucial to share with this body as well as with community. We're continuing to develop a more cohesive and standard system in terms of ongoing data collection as a system so that we can do it as we go and that these reports can be delivered on a much more timely basis, recognizing that we are now in the third quarter and the second quarter report for 2025 will be soon on the heels of this one. This concludes my presentation, and I'll gladly stand for any questions or comments you may have.
Thank you so much for that presentation. I just want to remind the members we have 10 minutes. And I see Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Director Velasquez. A couple questions here, which I believe I asked in the last time we had this, was why is Health Department not contributing any resources to this encampment closure? Just given that this is a public health issue, and they're also in charge of, needle cleanup and also our addiction treatment services portfolio of work in the city. So how are they involved in this work?
Chair Osmond, Councilmember Cashman, yes, I recall the question from the last report, and their work really lies leading up to closure. So they're present, not so much the medical mobile unit, but the staff who are staffing that medical mobile unit are present. The opioid response team is also present, leading up to encampment closures.
Okay, understood.
Yes. And as far as needle cleanup and needle pickup, when it's on private property, that's where there's a little bit of a bifurcation where our contract with A Mother's Love is for public right-of-way and city-owned areas. So for private property, it would be on the private property owner to do that needle cleanup. So they're able to provide the resources and supports to aid in that private property owner with the cleanup. And we've seen some different volunteer organizations come through to help manage that for them as well.
Thank you. Second question is, when will the next report be available? I'm just wondering if it's at all possible to speed up the gap in between the time that's being assessed now that you have a couple reports under your belt.
Yes, Chair Osman, Councilmember Cashman, thank you for the question. The next report we expect to come out September. I
Oh,
can't remember the specific
soon.
Biz committee date, but
Okay, thanks.
Very
And then only final feedback is if we could like standardize to 3-month duration versus 5, because I think it's a little hard to compare a 5-month stretch with a 3-month stretch, just in terms of percentages going up and down.
absolutely, thank you for the feedback.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you so much, Chair Osman. Thank you so much, Director Velasquez, for your presentation. Yeah, I'll just start off by saying, since we have limited time, I'm going to just keep it to the pressing things that I wanted to mention. I think it is, I'll echo what Councilmember Cashman is, but I'll put like a finer point on it. For me, before even getting this report and seeing a news release go out the day we got it as a council, and it's going to be received and filed, was very, very difficult to see. It was very difficult to see a press release state that the report shows fewer closures and more people accepting shelter, and then sharing the 81% drop in costs, and then more people in shelter, particularly because I don't think it is accurate data that's being given out to the public if we are looking at a larger duration of time comparing the different reports. There's a major difference between 1 quarter versus 2 quarters coming together and how that can add up. And I think something that would be wise to do and maybe include in the information is making it proportional to the amount of time that's shared, so the public can see it, so we can get an accurate understanding of the proportional change in the percentages by how many ever amounts of months, right? Because if there's more time in the previous report, we're going to spend less money, right? If there's less time in this time around. So that was one point of feedback that I wanted to give. I also would love to get the actual presentation before a press release goes out, mainly because this report was created through ordinance by this council for multiple reasons, but one of the center reasons is oversight. So not having an opportunity to engage with your department and get the presentation so we can do our duty and oversight was very, honestly, disappointing to me. And I got a lot of questions from residents following the press release and the media picking up stories about this. And I was not able to adequately answer any of those questions because we did not have time together in our presentation. And unfortunately, today, we probably will not have time together to discuss this report. One of the questions that I have in regards to the current report, just looking into it, is one of the areas that we request encampment data is if there has been a removal within a 1-mile radius in the last year. There's no information included in that column, and I wanted to ask what the reason for that is.
Chair Osman, Councilmember Chowdhury. Yeah, thank you for the feedback, first and foremost. And then as far as that specific column, I'll have to look at that report again. My estimation is it was an oversight, not an intentional omission.
Okay, thank you. Would appreciate that column being filled out. I think it's a really important piece of context that we included in the ordinance to understand where we see unhoused community members move, because we know that in the past, there's been encampment removals, and then we see an encampment just form a few blocks away. So that was the intention of asking the question, was there a removal within a 1-mile radius in the last year? The next question that I have is for, I think it's about at least 5 of the different encampments. There's columns asking number of service providers contacted about closure, number of service providers servicing encampment residents, number of service providers present at encampment closure. Some of them have a number 1 to 3, I think, but many of them are listed as 0, and I wanted to get a better understanding as to why service providers weren't present during encampment closure and why they were not notified.
Chair Osman, Councilmember Chowdhury, thank you for the question. So the coordination and activities of which service providers show up for encampment closures really lies with Hennepin County. We communicate when closures are going to happen, when we're aware that they're going to happen. Some closures are more of just clearings because people are already gone. So there are no service providers to contact in some of those different instances. But in other cases, there is coordination and activity that does happen with service providers, and which ones engage might depend on which ones have clients at that location. While the homeless response team engages on an encampment-wide level, individual service providers focus on clients. So they're client-specific, they're working with specific clients within an encampment. So they're searching for an individual that they're already working with to get housed, or that already has a housing voucher or something of that nature, because those specific efforts are time-bound, and if they're not able to identify that person and get them into housing, then that time is expired and they have to move down the list to that next person. So that explains some of the differences of why you might see 3 or 1 or even 0 at a location.
Yeah. I think for me, the part that isn't aligning here is we clearly have an ability as a city to contact service providers or notify them. I know that we have a network, and it says within our own data that there has been contact made. One of the points that you shared is that sometimes that there's no one the day of a closure, and that's indicated in the data under the column present and closure, but there are some encampment closures where there were no service providers contacted, where there are individuals present at the closure. And I would like a better understanding of what is our procedure in order to contact service providers, and if we've contacted service providers in the past. I'm going to look over to my clerk's team and ask if they could do an administrative follow-up to understand what's our protocol for contacting service providers the day of encampment closure, or just contacting service providers in general for additional help. I know we have a relationship with Hennepin County, but there's other organizations that we work with. And if we don't contact service providers and we don't have a way of doing it as a city, that would be a response that I'd be willing to receive too, but I just feel like I don't have clarity on that in this present moment. I know we have to wrap up committee here in a second, so I'm just going to ask one last question, and I will plan to follow up with other questions that I have. So the last question that I have is, in the column of personal belongings were items seized, stored, or discarded. At every encampment closure, it says everything was discarded. I would like to understand why, and then there's also a list or a column that says detailed list of personal belongings, and both reports at this point that column has been left blank. I understand that Reg Services may not be able to get every single item, but a good faith effort would be appreciated, and now it's the second report where we haven't got an understanding of what those belongings were collected. And I know if we have crews out there going, like, you can see if it's like a tent, you could see if it's someone's medicine, you can see if it's someone's bike. So want to know why everything was discarded, and want to know why we don't have a list of detailed personal belongings and what the plan for that is to correct in the future.
Chair Osman, Councilmember Chowdhury, thank you for the question and for the feedback. Yes, we work with Public Works, Solid Waste, and Recycling to identify what what cleanup activities do happen or clearings that happen at each one of these different locations. And in essence, I can provide the data based off of what they're providing, which is tonnage. They can provide they can provide weights, how many trucks were used, but they have not been able to provide details of what was gathered, only that it was abandoned and that they collected it and removed it. That's something that we can continue to work with them on to try and identify, recognizing that that will also add to the time because somebody will have to catalog and itemize every single one of these different items.
Absolutely. And I think the thing that's difficult about the situation, why we ask about personal belongings, is to understand if unhoused individuals who have so few things have an opportunity to store their belongings or not, because that is like the very few things that they have in their life. And we know from data from street outreach teams that when they lose their belongings, it makes it even more difficult for them to get to a place of stability. And if we're going to do encampment clearings in the city of Minneapolis, which we are persistently doing, and we're also, I think, as an enterprise currently cheerleading, there's an understanding that this causes trauma and inflicts harm onto community members. Like, encampments are not safe or healthy for anyone, but an encampment clearing, you can't also separate that it's not harmful, right? There is harm and trauma that comes with it. People see it with their eyes. And a part of that is not having an opportunity to store your belongings. And everything in this report indicates that people did not have an opportunity to store their belongings the day of an encampment clearing. And that was something that I had mentioned as a concern the last time there was a report, is people might not be open to storing their belongings leading up to encampment clearing. But once they see the crews and individuals there to ask them to leave, they might take that final chance to put away their belongings and access the resources that we have, which aren't super accessible because it's all downtown. So this is really difficult to see within this report, and I think that's something to uplift here. Like, it's not the rose-tinted glasses of like the 311 calls and the 911 calls have gone down, and that more people are accepting services or there's less encampment closures. But it's a truth in this that I know is probably not what the city of Minneapolis wants in a headline, but is clear in this report, and it's hard to see.
Right, thank you. We're past 5 minutes of the time we're supposed to stop. Thank you so much, Director, for your report. I want to make a really quick comment about, I was looking at the chart and the cost of the closure. Regulatory services are probably the staff that are the most there, that visits the regularly homeless outreach team. Public Works continue to engage regularly, but MPD just shows up the closure times. And they, at those few hours, it costs like $34,000. So I think, it's huge cost, just that department itself. So I like to focus more on the prevention of encampments, not starting encampments. And also, I see the list of the property ownerships. Where's the MnDOT? Where's the county? I know there are land-owned county and there's MnDOTs. I have a huge problem with under the bridge situations that's happening that's not under the report. We gotta pressure the government other governments, state, especially the state of MnDOT, to do what they're supposed to do and to engage us to be more response to the residents. Residents continue to call me and make those emails based on the city under the bridges, and the city was like, well, it's not our land, let us talk to them in that. That is not a great process. I know this is not just a part of the report, but I know that this is not included in the report, but we have under the freeways, under the highways, situations that all of us experience, that folks are sleeping there, staying their tents there, and I know there has been other closure encampments, not by the city of Minneapolis, but by other government agencies, so maybe those could be included in your report in the future. But overall, focusing on prevention would probably save a lot of lives, a lot of money, and continue to help. And I'd like to see regulatory services actually spend more money. I don't want to see the $34,000 MPD spending just to be out there standing around while Public Works do the work. But regulatory services has been active and engaged in that and offering those services and playing the role of Hennepin County mostly. But overall, thank you so much. If anyone else want to add anything, we're out of time. See no further business before us. With no objection, I will declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you so much.